Select Board to meeting April 13, 2026. Let's stand and do the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Oh, it's moved. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now please for a moment of silence. Okay. Before we start, I just want to make a quick statement. I've noticed over the last few weeks, and really it's been kind of going on for a couple years, that sometimes there's incredible rudeness towards some of our employees and our department heads and presenters when they're here. And not everybody knows this, but we're the boss of Troy as a town manager, and if he's doing a great job for us. And if someone has a complaint, it'd be better to come to us. If you have a question about anything he's doing. But most of all, just no name calling, please. I want everybody to have a voice, but there's been a lot of disrespect and cross-talking. Please try to acknowledge a chair and just give everybody space to say their terms, but think about what you're saying, please. And thank you. All right, so approval of minutes from March 23rd, 2026 meeting. Anybody have any changes you want to make?
I didn't see anything. I don't know if anybody else caught something.
It was substantive.
It was substantive. I actually got quite a few comments, positive comments about going over the yearly, when Troy went over the property lease, all the different kind of goals we have for the year. I heard a couple people talk to me about liking that and watching it back, and it was nice to see an overview of some of the year projects. So,
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as written.
okay, second.
I'll second it.
Paul seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, 500. Vicky. Okay, next on the agenda, we do have two public hearings. They are both having to do with the fire department. Unfortunately, Chad couldn't be here tonight, personal matter, and he did write something up. I'll open them each, obviously one at a time. After I open it, I'll read this short letter from Chad. So I'll open up the first public hearing to accept and expend unanticipated funds from the United Way grant for $10,200. And let me start with reading this and then I'll open it up to the public. And it is 5:02, Vicki. Okay. All right, please pass along, accept my sincere apologies that I won't be in attendance and don't have anyone able to attend tonight. The two grants before you today are largely supported through the New Hampshire Opioid Abatement Trust Fund and would provide meaningful support for both emergency response operations and community-based prevention efforts. The first grant is for $10,200 administered through United Way. These funds would be used to purchase a mobile data terminal for one of our ambulances, a portable radio for a firefighter, and computer devices to support electronic patient medical records. Together, these items will improve communications, response efficiency, and patient documentation in the field. Why don't I start with that one? I'll read you his notes for the second one. So for that, that's what he has written about the first grant on this first public hearing, and I will open it up to the public for comments or questions. Yes?
He says a radio for a firefighter. I thought all firefighters could have radios.
He's not here to answer, but I can imagine that the $10,000 doesn't cover more than one, so he wants to purchase a mobile data terminal and a portable radio for a firefighter.
Right, well I thought the data terminal was for the ambulance, right?
Right, and it looks like one portable radio for a firefighter, so the $10,000 doesn't cover the others, so.
Oh, okay.
He's buying one with that, whether that's to replace an old one.
Yeah, it just seems like a weird thing to do, but maybe if it's a replacement, I guess that
makes
some sense.
With this particular grant, because I've applied for this grant in a nonprofit I work for, I do grant writing for, they they have a limit. You can only get up to like 12 or 15,000 from this particular United Way grant. And you have to show what you're going to buy, but it's so itemized. Anyone else? Yes,
So
Diane?
is that in addition to others that we already have, or is this something brand new?
Other grants?
No, I mean, for the.
Other radios?
Yeah, other radios.
I can't answer that question. Do you know? Chief Smith might know, and he has his hand up. Go ahead.
Look, I can't specifically answer for Chief Miller, but he was in need of radios. They're short radios at the firehouse. We've been able to provide him with some radios that we got through Grafton County. So we couldn't give him the amount of radios that he needed to fulfill the mission that he has, so he's still short radios for his firefighters.
But he does have some, I mean,
He
without
does have
giving
some.
him, he had some, he just needed
Yes,
more,
some.
and then
He
now he
just-
needs more again. Gotcha.
Oh, I understand. Is it just going to be one radio? No, there's other radios, but this will be
One.
another radio. Yep.
And for, just so you know, one radio's around $5,000 to $6,000 depending on the model.
Do you keep
Well,
a track?
any other questions for the board?
Do you
Yeah,
keep
yes,
a
Rudy?
track- Do you keep a track every time when these entities like, the police and the fire chief, do you keep in track every time they ask for something in town, you put it right on record? Because
It's in
to
the-
me, as long as I've been, when you guess over here as spectators, it looks like, you guys have been given a lot of, every time they ask for something, you guys, they needed 10,000, they needed this, they needed that. And, when you're talking about grants, I watch more money long on TV. Grants, it's money from the taxpayer. Yes, sorry, no say no, because otherwise you gotta watch it.
Can I answer
It's
that,
not,
please?
yeah, I can too, but go
I
ahead,
sit
Chief.
on the opioid commission
It's not
for the
from
state.
Oh, you do?
This money is monies that are received from Big Pharma because of the opioid epidemic that they created. So this is not taxpayer money, this is money from corporations that have settled with different attorney generals throughout the United States to pay for, quite honestly, the carnage that they caused within our state. So that's what the money's from.
It's not from taxpayers. Yep. Thank you. Yep, December?
Yeah, so just to reiterate, so this is zero impact to the taxpayers of the town. This
Correct.
is money that the Littleton Fire Rescue is going to receive
Correct.
for much needed equipment, correct?
Yep.
That's the, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you, that's great.
Roger?
So on this database that they're talking about to get information,
The mobile data terminal?
Yeah.
For one of the
so is
ambulances?
there a monthly fee on that we have to join to get all that information? That's an ongoing thing for the town.
No, right, Troy?
I would, if it's a mobile device,
They
we
already
probably have
paid
a
for that.
cellular service for the device.
Is that correct, Chief? Okay. A lot of times when you buy like one, Wi-Fi or a mobile unit, you can use it for a numerous amount of like radios. So I'm sure we haven't reached our limit of how much of that service we can use across devices. Anyone else? Once, twice. Okay, so I'm gonna close the public hearing at 5:08. Seeing no more questions from the public, and now bring it to the board. Anybody have any comments on the board about this subject?
I have an affirmation for both our police and our fire chiefs, because anytime they've seen a need for any new equipment or additional equipment or whatever, they've always gone after grant funding to purchase that equipment. And it's saved on their budget line items.
Yeah, appreciate that too. And this United Way grant will be like quarterly for a while. There's quite a bit of opioid abatement funding that's coming in. Anyone else? Are we ready to take a vote? We good? All right, we'll I'll take a motion if anybody
Motion?
wants to accept.
I'll make the motion that the select board accept the United Way funding for New Hampshire opioid abatement trust of $10,200.
Okay, Linda motioned, anyone second?
Also,
Paul seconds, any more discussion? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Okay, 500. All right. And now the second public hearing is to accept and expend unanticipated funds from Grafton County grant of $64,000. We'll open this up at 5:09, and I'll read the latter half of Chief Miller's letter. The second grant is for $64,000 administered through Grafton County. This funding would support the continuation of our mobile integrated healthcare community health program, including staff time necessary to sustain and expand this work. It would also provide support for first responder mental health initiatives, along with community AEDs and CPR training, helping us strengthen both our emergency response system and our broader public health and prevention efforts. No matching funds are required for either of these grants. These funds would allow us to continue addressing the ongoing impacts of substance use and behavioral health challenges, along with the mental health support of our first responders in a practical, local, and measurable way. So this is another grant. The county also held some of the opioid abatement funds, which came from pharmaceutical companies. I can't name which pharmaceutical companies, but there's a few involved. I will open it up to the public for any questions or comments. Okay, seeing none, I will close public hearing at 5:11 and now bring it to the board for discussion or questions or.
I move we accept the grant.
Okay, moved by Ed,
I'll second.
Linda seconds. Any more discussion? Okay, all in favor? Let's read it actually. This, let's see, what's the recommendation? Can you read that?
Yeah,
Yep.
to accept, I move to accept and expend up to $64,000 from Grafton County for purposes of supporting the Littleton Fire Rescue's mobile integrated healthcare program, first responder, mental health, and community CPR AEDs.
Okay, and we got the first and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And sustained. 500. All right, that ends our public hearing part of the meeting. Next, we're coming up on business. And the first on the agenda is to review the $2.5 million bond bid for the wastewater treatment plant. And I will turn this over to Town Manager Brown.
Okay, if you remember back in December, we were, during the budget development process, we were also dealing with emergency situation down at our treatment plant. And that resulted in the citizens approving a $2.5 million emergency bond. And we now, Lori, the finance department, has been working with bond counsel and putting together an RFP. We had, I think altogether 18 potential bidders on this. We had 7 respond. The range for the interest rate was 4.6% all the way up to 6.5%, depending on if it's a 10-year, 15-year, or 20-year.
Mm-hmm.
So this was our effort, but after consulting with our bond counsel, who primarily just assists towns throughout the state with underwriting their bonds and the administrative work that goes in that process, we determined that we'd like to recommend that we not proceed with any of these proposals, and that we wait for the New Hampshire Municipal Bond Bank to do their bond sale. And if you can see that the last bond sale they had in January was the 10-year rate, which is what we're really eyeballing here, was 10.5%, and the 15-year rate was 3%. The 20-year rate was
2.5
2.5
on the 10-year.
For 10 years.
Yeah, and 3.4 for
Everybody was like,
for the 10%.
What?
What did I say?
10.5.
10 year.
2.5 is a lot better.
6 months.
And if you go back and look at historical interest rates that the
Yeah.
bond bank's able to leverage, they are consistently in this ballpark. Now, we got a lot going on in this world right now. I suspect that that is gonna have some type of impact on the rates when they go to sell in July. I think everyone's, if you're not aware what the municipal bond bank does, all towns, cities, county governments that are interested in working together, and they just package all the bonds and they put it out there in the market. So with having that larger quantity out there, it gains
Better
more
rates.
aggressive rates. So
Right.
they do, the bond bank, actually, they just package the whole thing, they'll put it out to bid with their consultants. And so, if the board agrees with this, we'll hold off now. We will need to do some interim financing with the bond bank. They're willing and able to assist us. And then we'll do a sale again and come back in the end of July with what we ended up with for a rate. We should have the cash in hand by the end of August. It will happen that quickly.
Oh, wow.
So this was a kind of emergency bond for the treatment plant. Is this delay going to, what impact will that have? They can get till there
Yeah,
without a major
so
impact?
we don't think we can cash flow. We've been cash flowing the repair work and the temporary hauling of sludge and rental of equipment, building modifications that all about, this work has been progressing. Some of it's complete. So we've been cash flowing that. Lori's looked at her cash flow projections. We think that we're probably going to need to, at least on a temporary basis, finance somewhere between 800,000 to maybe $1 million to get us to August. So it doesn't stop any construction and work that's going on currently right now at the plant.
Is this a normal, is this a representative of a normal spread? Like it's usually 2 points better with the new versus the banks from the new, that's really a lot.
The bond
When you're
market
talking about
over
millions,
over the
that's,
years, the bond market has always been less than the
that's
banks.
a lot of money.
Yeah. I know, but one year the town got a great rate.
Oh, okay.
I think it was your highway garage, something. You're somewhere around 2 points something.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And
Okay.
so it's, it is always worth going and testing the market to see
Mhm.
if some of the local banks, New Hampshire banks can do something, but in this case, I think we should wait for the bond bank.
6% seems pretty high.
Really high.
Yeah,
Do
but
we have a
that's,
bond rating as a town?
We do have a rate, I don't know it off the top of my head. A lot of times, towns our size actually don't have a rate.
Right,
right.
usually no, I just wondering.
Troy, is there, so we approved another bond for a similar purpose at the wastewater treatment plant at the last go round. Did it make any sense to maybe tighten the timeline so that they are a little closer together? And
So
maybe
we right now, we looked at that and we're in the opinion that we're holding off on that bond until the end of this year. We'll take a look at it. And primarily, we're looking at some of the grant opportunities
Yeah.
that are there and we're applying for, so we can determine exactly what we will bond. Because the plan is hopefully, I'm sure we're gonna get some money through different state programs, so if we can get a couple million, $3 million of loan, interest-free, some loan forgiveness, then we'll determine what we need to bond.
Yeah. Well, that's good. But I mean, not that I'm suggesting we play interest rates, but
Yeah.
as we go through time forward, those rates conceivably might go up a little bit at the
Yeah.
same time. So if it's grants in the millions, then that makes a big difference. But if it's grants in the thousands.
Well, it's a good point, and I can bring that back to our team and actually have a discussion about that. And maybe it is best that we package, we'll go back and look at that.
Yeah.
Does the approval on that larger bond expire at the end of the year, the way the warrant article?
No, I think all municipal bonds, I think they're in place for 5 years.
Well, I mean,
Or they can be recalled.
But the warrant article to approve that, if it's not bonded by the end of the year.
It doesn't lapse.
Okay.
I think when you approve a municipal bond, when the voters do that, it doesn't last for, I believe, 5 years.
Okay.
So in other words, if a town bonded something, then after the fact you realize we don't need to do this, you still have to wait 5 years to undo it.
Right, like the rates are not favorable. So you're proposing to come back in July, basically, with a new rebid process?
Yeah, we're definitely gonna go to the bond bank with $2.5 million, put that into the sale. And what I'm hearing is maybe we should look at throwing the $9 million in there as a potential of locking in a rate.
Can't hurt to see, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Right.
you're right, to see what you get.
Because that's big,
That might be better for them too, to do, what, 11 as opposed to,
yeah.
Now, would they both be on a 10-year payback, or can you mix and match in there? Is the
Uh,
larger one anticipated?
The larger one's
15
gonna be the
or
20 years, so
20?
I don't know. Usually I only
Because it jumps to
apply for
three,
one bond.
because it jumped to 3.43, yeah.
But I'm
with the 20
assuming,
I don't know,
I'm
the
assuming,
bank,
yeah, there's
they
gonna
must take
be,
a bunch of different bonds at different lengths.
They can.
package them
Maybe
all.
they take an average.
so what's gonna happen is, you're right, I mean, the bond bank is gonna have, when they put their RFP out there, they'll have a certain dollar amount for 10 years, a certain dollar amount for 15.
There's multiple pools.
There's 30, yeah.
Got it.
So do you need anything from us today to move forward with the
Other
bond
than
bank for the?
your consent, that we reject these, we don't pursue these proposals, and that we just proceed forward with an application for bond bank.
So do you want a full motion and everything with that?
Yeah, if you wanna make that.
I think
as a
so.
motion.
Does it, any more discussion about that? Is everybody feeling good about that, or how many? So basically, we need a motion to, that we're gonna move with the municipal bond bank.
Say, I would make a motion to reject the
Reject.
proposals received and authorize staff to proceed forward with an application to the New Hampshire Municipal Bond Bank.
What he said.
Okay, you're making that motion. Who would like to second that motion?
Point of clarification, so we're not gonna go to a full rebid
Right.
market in a few months. We're gonna go in with municipal bond bank, knowing it's
Right.
better.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got
The bond, yeah, I make that motion. The bond bank has always had a
better
better
rates,
rate.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll second that
Paul
motion.
seconds. Any other discussion? All right, all those in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Okay, 500. All right. Next on the agenda under business is Opportunity Zones Designation Request. And I will turn this over to Select Person Caswell, and go ahead.
sure, thanks Gary. So, Opportunity Zone briefly has been a program that's been in place since 2018, I think originally 17 or 18. The program is originally designed to create an investment vehicle for investors to invest in specific projects in certain census tracts that are low income. That program, in each state, the governor has to designate a certain number of census tracts that are based in some census data. I believe in the last go around in 2017, Governor Sununu designated around, I want to say it was about 20 opportunity zones. Those did not work real well in New Hampshire. Littleton was one of the ones that was designated in that tract. Because of the way the program was designed initially, there was a big focus on more urban areas that had substantial, they were more of an investable type of product than anything in rural areas of the country. So in last year's appropriations bill, Congress made some substantial changes to the program. There was some background that I sent around on what exactly that is, which I'm happy to talk about, but I think the basic thrust of it is that they've made it far more beneficial for investment in rural communities and rural census tracts, and they've made the program permanent. So I think that these could be opportunities for basically gap funding of existing, like affordable housing or other types of projects that serve the public interest in a community like Littleton. And so what I'm suggesting is that the town request that the governor, as part of her renewal of the opportunity zones under the new regime, renew Littleton's designation as an opportunity zone. So that would last for another 10 years. There's absolutely no burden on the town or on anybody here, or on the taxpayers, local taxpayers in New Hampshire or in Littleton. It would be another tool that could be used for a developer or an investor or a project to help make their project pencil financially. Again, it's been in place in Littleton for the last 10 years. I don't believe it's ever been used in Littleton because of the reasons that I pointed out before. And I just am of mind that that would be a tool that could be useful to somebody at some point. And so we drafted a letter asking for Littleton to be able to be redesignated under the new program. That, incidentally, that process begins, I believe, on July 1st and would be over by September or October. So that's pretty much the thrust of it.
Did the letter come from the town manager or from the select board?
It probably gets more attention if it's from the select board. No offense, Troy, but we could also do it
As a
from the
joint.
town. You could
All
do
of
it
us
as
could,
one.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it would start January 1st, 2027 if we get accepted. We can put it in July 1st.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Well, you can put it in.
It'd be
You could,
now.
you could submit anything at any point.
Yeah.
They're going through the process now.
But the sooner we get in there, the better off we are.
Is it rolling? Is it like a rolling
Well,
acceptance?
they're on
into it?
10-year windows. So-
Oh, right, but I mean, do they hold them and then decide, is there a finite number, or is it just whoever?
I think that's how they'll do it.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a defined process like that.
Okay. All right,
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Has anyone looked into any adverse impact to the town or the residents of the town before we move forward with saying this would be a great idea?
Well, I would just say that Littleton has been an opportunity zone for the last 10 years.
But we haven't done anything.
Right.
I'm concerned about the impact to the town and to the residents within the town. Because when you start getting outside investment in towns, if in some cases, depending on how it's done, there can be adverse impact to the existing town. And I'll use the Texas town that Elon Musk bought as an example. That's an extreme example, and I don't know what the deal was, but I just want to make sure that, obviously nothing would happen that badly, at least knock on wood. But,
Elon Musk isn't gonna buy Littleton, I'm not gonna let him.
no, but the point is that damage can be done when things like that happen. I just want to make sure that before we say, oh, great idea, that someone looks at potential adverse
So
impacts.
it's a good point. Any project or investor is only as good as the people behind it, right? And we count on the private sector to invest in the town, hopefully bring jobs. This is something that creates an incentive by deferring capital gains to invest in a low-income area.
Is that all it does?
That's all it does.
It's all it
There's no
does.
commitment by the town.
Right.
It defers capital gains at the
So if you
federal
think
level.
of like
They still have to pass it.
like if you were gonna build an affordable housing project in any town, you'd have to have a number of different sources of funding.
No, I understand, and if
This-
all it does is defer capital gains,
Right,
that's fine. I just want to make sure that it doesn't, again, I never heard of it before.
right.
I looked at the agenda, and I want to make sure that there's not things in there that will have an adverse impact, just because of the regulations or lack of regulations dealing with this
Yeah,
project. It happens too often.
yeah. Well, based on my experience, I don't have any knowledge of any bad impacts on a town that even used it, if they did.
Thank you.
Okay, yes, Diane?
The information that Taylor provided the board, is that going to be posted on the website so the rest of us can take a look at it?
That'd be a good idea.
The letter from, I guess these 4 or 5 pages.
Draft letter, yeah. There's a
We do that?
letter
Yeah.
and just some
The
background.
letter in the
There's
background.
background info though in front of that that's
Yeah.
useful as well.
We just upload
Which
it
I
into one of those
pretty much got from the
emails
internet.
that goes,
Pardon?
I pretty much got from the internet anyway, so it's all available out there.
like on the news, like on the homepage. Is that something we could do, Vicki?
Someplace like that, I mean, just so we can keep up with.
And send it out as an email. People know you can put your name in, right? Put your email in and you get email alerts. It's pretty nice. On the town website, in the top right corner, you can put your email in. And you'll get email notices, like, for lots of different things.
Oh.
Probably get one a week, 2 a week, different, whenever they're hiring somebody, when
I
there's
was gonna say,
road
I get a-
closures.
I get a bunch of
They're
them.
quite a bit, yeah. So, it's a great tool, the website has that on there. I think, I always keep trying to tell people, because then you'll get, Vicky puts out and other people put out announcements, some urgent, some just information, so. Okay,
So I think what we'll do is, we'll format the letter, have the select board sign it, and we'll send that down to the governor. And then we'll post on our website through the news feed, the signed letter with the backup material that select person Caswell provided.
okay,
So that way it'll be all in one package, the letter and the backup material.
yeah.
And
All
maybe
right.
even some other links to some other
Yeah, if we have.
programs that,
Yeah, I can embed some embedded links if people wanna.
okay.
Something like that. Okay,
And just to be clear, just because we ask for it doesn't mean we're gonna get it.
right,
This is just a request.
right.
That at the end of the day, the governor will be making her final
Right.
decisions.
Is the executive council helping her make the decision? 'Cause one of the executive council really likes Littleton, so I want to do a good job with.
I would CC her on the letter.
Okay, good. She's fond of Littleton and comes up a lot.
Is there a window that closes if we don't get this letter in?
Sorry?
Is there a window that closes?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
Okay, so snooze-lose on this one, right? We may not get anything out of it, but we won't even be eligible unless we get designation.
Well, yes, and I think being able to point to the possibility for areas like housing and others that could be important investments in the town over the next 10 years adds to the case.
yeah.
Good.
And one thing to point out too, that was good comments, Lilo, but sometimes it's people here that are investing, not someone outside. Like we have a lot of investors that build homes here. A lot of people know their names, but there's a few families that build a lot of homes
And
here.
that-
So
if someone who has
might be
a-
somebody here, our local person who just could also be a part of
Right.
this to help build more apartments or something.
Find investors that have capital gains, they
Yeah.
want shelter, I guess, is that the idea? Yeah.
Yep.
So do you want to, probably a motion, and I would think a motion that we would send the letter out
Sure.
as written,
I'll
and
make that motion.
you'll make the motion. Would anyone like to second that?
I'll second it.
Paul, any more discussion or questions? All right, let's take a vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, abstained. Okay, 5-0. Thank you, thank you, Taylor. Number 3 under business agenda, review and update budget procedure policy, and this is also Manager Brown.
So, coming off the budget season, I think we all know that it was a long process. And, deliberative session, I think it went 2 nights, pretty late. A lot of discussion about spending, not really being clear on the direction of what we wanted the final budget to look and feel like, what we wanted to address, and how we're gonna pay for it. So, listening to department heads, listening to citizens, individual conversations with select board members, I felt it was good to get ahead of the curve this year and talk about next year's budget, which is, we'll soon begin working on. Lori, our finance director, did point out, and I think I was aware, that we had a budget procedures policy. So I took that out, like I've done last year, working on some policies, and took a look at it. I think it's a good policy, and I just made some tweaks to it, and I think it's a good policy to use this year. With some of the changes I've made, we can always, every single year revisit it and make improvements. But the real purpose is to get clear direction to our department heads as to what the budget guidance is. To make sure the town manager is involved in reviewing those budgets and having the opportunity to put together the final numbers. As town manager, that's one of the biggest jobs I have, is to submit a budget to the select board. But before doing that, obviously I want the select board to be able to weigh in and provide some direction. I want the select board to be a little bit more involved this year in the review of the budget and discussion about it before it actually goes to the budget committee. It's been unfortunate for the select board in the last couple of years as been trying to, transition to the job and just previous issues that have been going on, that by the time we get the budget printed, it literally is coming off the press and it's going before the select board and budget committee at the same time. And even myself, I'm not really sure where the final numbers are landing. With that being said, in all fairness, when you're trying to put together a budget in July, just a few months after coming off the March town meeting, it's not easy because there are so many numbers that are just not available. And those numbers are usually the big ones. So, so anyhow, as you saw, in your packet, gone through the policy, just changing any reference Board of Selectmen to Select Board, any reference to the Budget Committee as an appointed Budget Committee. I changed it to Advisory Budget Committee because that is the role that they're playing. I've added in the budget development process and procedures, I've added a step 1. And this is where we get the select board more involved in this process. And so step 1 would lay out the select board completes an annual review of the budget policy procedures on and before June 30th each year. Select board establishes a budget guidance on and before June 30th each year. And the select board establishes COLA rate for all non-union employees on and before June 30th each year. Select board reviews CIP plan and establishes budgetary and capital goals on and before June 30th each year. So this puts us in a position where on June 30th, we have more conversation about this, we review capital plan, make sure we're all understanding where we're at, and it gives us the clear guidance that we need to then go to step 2, which is July the 15th. The finance director will provide all the budgetary forms and direction to our department heads on the preparation for their budget. And everything else kind of just sets out some dates. I think that following this schedule, I think the department heads will have more than enough time to put together their budget proposals. I will have a couple weeks to review it and make changes as I see fit, working with department heads. And it should give the select board at least 3 meetings to be able to go over the budget and make sure it's something that you could support. And then we'll move it on to the budget committee, and they'll have, it'll be submitted to the budget committee by October the 15th. So that gives them half the month of October and all of November, right after Thanksgiving, where hopefully they can finalize the budget. If they need a little bit more time after the Thanksgiving break, they can. But I think with us doing our job and our part, it should make it easier for the budget committee.
Can I ask a question?
Are you?
I'm done, yeah, I think I kind of just hit the highlights on that.
Is it possible to either designate for like each line item or to somehow segregate for each department what's legally required contractually or by law, what's like health and safety, and then for the other things that are added in, so that so that the public can see a justification for those other things. Obviously, we have to do what's legally required. Health and safety is another one of those things you really can't. I mean, sewer, right? We had a sewer problem. We have to address it. That's a health and safety kind of issue, and a lot of the fire and police stuff is that. But in that way, people can see it and understand how things are built up.
Yeah, I mean, easy answer to your question is not to be negative, but
No.
no.
Why?
And, well, remember, the DRA has the official budget forms, and they have certain account numbers. And at the end of the day, that is what we're following, that is your official budget.
And you can't determine that something is by law or, you know,
It's
legal
gonna-
or
it's-
health and safety. I mean, it's
When
not,
we review the budget and questions are asked, and it's pretty easy to be able to say, yeah, we need to have the workers' compensation insurance, we have to pay for the annual software license agreements.
Yeah.
We are obligated under our collective bargaining agreements to pay salaries and these stipends and this training and this uniforms. So, you know,
How much,
70% of your budget probably is really
I-
non-negotiable.
I
And then you gotta
already
pay the
mandated.
paper, the paper clips and the postage
but,
stamps.
and I
Yeah.
understand that, but what I'm getting at is that we just keep comparing it to the previous year's budget. And that, to me, doesn't provide me with whether these things are really required. And as a resident, and a taxpayer, I get concerned over that. We all had heard comments and gave comments about the tax rates, and we're all concerned, I hope. But at least if we can see how it builds up. I mean, that these things are legally and contractually required. These things, most people should want health and safety items. And then there are other items, and I'm not denying the paper clips and whatevers, but there probably are other things in there that are not as, that are more nice to haves. And that's all, and I know that's the types of things that I would look at getting rid of, but when I did budgeting for, you know, $100 million plus programs, that's what I got down to, was to look, because I know people think, oh, the big stuff's already there, so it doesn't matter, but it does. Because all the little stuff does add up still. It may not add up but if it's 30%, that's still a lot of money.
Can I make one suggestion, and then I'll get you done? So when we've got the deliberative, right, we're looking at the budget after it's gone through the department heads and all the budget meetings, those are open to the public too, and those go into a lot more finite.
But they don't tell you what's.
But, maybe Diana was gonna address this too, she's right behind us, the budget, she's a member of the budget committee.
I was wondering if the default budget really basically tells you what is mandatory and what isn't mandatory. So, I mean.
It's the previous year's budget, the default
Yeah.
budget, so it doesn't necessarily tell you what's mandatory. It's just so that if a budget's voted down, the town doesn't shut down. So you automatically go to the previous year's
Right.
budget. Sometimes the default can be higher than a proposed budget, right? So all it does is go to the previous year.
and I think it's pretty hard, oh, I'm sorry, Dan.
Well, just to follow up, sorry. I always felt that the one-time items that were in the previous year's budget were automatically taken out of the budget unless they're mandatory, unless they're safety or something else. So the default budget has to be scrutinized, and that was one of the questions I had in here, because last year, when we went through the default budget, we didn't really go through the default budget, and Lori and I discovered late in the season that there was a $50,000 error put into the default budget. It should have been a $5,000 entry, but it was accidentally listed at $50,000. So if Lori and I hadn't looked at that, we would have had a default budget of $45,000 more. So I'm hoping that, and here in your policy, you're saying that we can't change it, but I'm hoping that that doesn't preclude us from reviewing it to make sure that there aren't any errors and any questions could be asked in that. So
The default budget is a public record.
yeah, I'm just
Is
reading
there
the
for-
policy. Yeah.
It's there for review, absolutely.
Okay, great.
But doesn't seem to me, and again, I'm not involved, my brother will be watching your dice, but, when we challenge it at the deliberative meeting, we get, well, that's the default. That's what it was
So-
last year, this is, and plus some things we added. But that doesn't, it added like, the cost of living stuff, and that doesn't tell me, as a taxpayer, as a person asking a question, it doesn't give me an answer.
So,
Well, it's real simple, it's not simple. But
Nothing about this is simple, I know.
No, it's
as a
not.
taxpayer, what a default budget is exactly what Diane said. It's last year's appropriations, plus or minus, and in these contractual arrangements that we have, one-time expenditures. So if in this budget, the 2026 budget, under a building maintenance line, I budgeted $50,000 for architectural services. That's a one-time expense, and it should not carry forward into the 27 default budget.
Okay,
Okay.
so what about
That's an
things-
example of a one-time expense.
So what about things that are not
So
legally
let's talk- let's
required
just-
or
let's-
health and safety?
So any bond debt, any debt that retires, that's reduced, right? Anything that's under contract. But what the default budget doesn't allow you to do, and it's what's going on in our country right now, has always irritated me every time I put together a default budget. It does not account for the increase in the cost of propane, diesel fuel, regular fuel, the cost of anything that escalates. So if whatever I paid last year for, not paid, but budgeted, what was approved for heating our buildings in 26, the budget we're in right now, and that number that was used to estimate what it was going to cost was probably 25 numbers, because again, we're putting our budget together in July. Going into this year, the 27 budget, default budget, you're gonna have the $5,000 for propane. It's not gonna get adjusted. It's not gonna get adjusted down, it's not gonna get adjusted up.
It's gonna be-
So,
Same thing happens to the taxpayer the homeowner who's got a house here,
I'm just telling you.
trying to heat it, and then
so
all of a
what
sudden, I thought it was
happens-
gonna cost X dollars, and now it's gonna be cost, 2X
Or
dollars.
the same.
But I'm just saying that that's
That's
the
why-
difference between the default budget, is that it doesn't necessarily represent what the true cost is to maintain the services that were approved in the prior year.
Okay, but I guess that's where I have an issue, is it's just about services provided in the prior year. These are not mandatory, legally required health and safety things necessarily. There's other things that this town spends money on, and I don't agree with it, but I understand that a lot of people like it. Okay, that's fine. But if we get to a point where people can't afford their taxes, or where we have to heat buildings, we have to repair things, or we're just kind of like dead in the water because the cost of everything's gone up, right? What are the things that can be cut? What are the things that are not legally required and not health and safety? We have parades that use gasoline and diesel. We have other functions where we're spending tax dollars. And I'm, like I said, I
think the
don't like
question
those,
really
but I'm
is-
saying that the people, we don't even know what we can get rid of.
The question really is, and this is what services can be cut? That's the real question. If I change the office expense line at the town office from $3,000 down to $2,500, I cut it $500. It's not gonna do anything to your tax rate. If you want to have an impact on your tax rate, it's gonna come down to services. What services are you currently paying for that you're not interested in continuing? And there are obviously, when we put together our budgets, we're always looking for newer ways to do things, trying to be more efficient.
I guess
We're in a
there's-
position, we look at different positions, but
the visibility to the taxpayer is not there. Can I put it that way? You may be going through all this stuff, but we don't know what's happening.
well, we have
How can we
this,
find out?
this year, you're gonna see, you have to take the effort to watch the website and see the agendas posted. And this board is going to be spending at least 3 meetings on it. And then it's gonna go to the budget committee, then it's gonna go to a public hearing, and then it's gonna go to deliberative session. The opportunity is there for the public, it is there. I go to the public hearings, no one comes. They all know it. The people that are watching this are aware of it. It's not a secret. So, it's there.
Okay. all right, one second.
December.
I think of one more comment and then we'll.
Actually, I just had a question,
Taylor's.
for the commenter.
Oh, Taylor, I'm sorry, I'll get you
Is
next.
it, like, so, when you're speaking, is it
Lilo.
Lilo.
Okay, when you speak of like, items other than like health and public safety, like I'm actually interested in knowing what other types of, so like you mentioned parades, like so I know exactly what you're asking, but like what you're looking for, but I'm wondering if you have any ideas of the types of services or resources that the town taxpayers now provide that you'd like to look at to say, do we have to provide this legally? That's, I guess, not a criticism, just an honest question of, what do people wonder?
Well, I think we do have some. I've mentioned some before. One would be the parade. One would be a lot of the Parks and Rec stuff. One would be the Opera House, which white elephant as far as I can see. And let's take a look at some of this stuff last year, 2 years ago, we went and accepted back land that someone wanted to donate us. So now we're not paying taxes on it. It's a piece of useless land the town owns. Why did we do that? And I know that went to vote, but I mean, there are things that this town does that are economically adverse to the town. And I'm not saying to get rid of everything. I'm saying we need to take a look at some things and see where we're spending money.
Yep.
I mean, I still think that we should go, certain things should be self-supporting, and they're not, and tax dollars pay for that.
Thank you. I think Taylor, it's okay. Taylor wanted to say something, and I think we should kind of move on. We're having our next item on business is also about budgeting, but Taylor had something
I was
to
only
say.
gonna open the box of unfunded mandates as well, which is very similar to what legally required means. That in a lot of ways, we're getting costs pushed down on us at the town level from the state and from other
We can't do
places.
anything about it except talk to our state reps.
Well, there's no one left to shovel it to except the taxpayers.
Well, maybe they need to figure out how to support the state, because they don't do property tax, and they just cut the investment.
They
I
downshift
hear
a
you.
lot of the cost to
Yeah.
But that's not
municipalities.
according to the Constitution, the state Constitution, they're not supposed to do that.
Right, but
They do.
So,
Take it
throw
we
out.
that
know,
That's
but
another-
If we can't do anything else,
Yeah.
then we have to just accept it, unfortunately, and I don't agree with that, but we have to, right?
you want to
But
run
we
for
can do
rep or
something about-
something?
We can do something about what we are
Yeah,
spending.
it's really important to be active at the state level too and contact your reps and senators and
To ignore
I
it.
know it's a lot of work, but,
To ignore
all
it.
right, they don't, eventually things happen though. Diane, let's make this the last comment because I do want to move on to
Right,
the
it's
agenda.
really a question about the draft policy as well.
Okay,
On the back, I think we have a date of November 30th. It's kind of finalized time and I.
yeah, for the budget committee
For the
to,
budget committee,
Yep.
November 30th, any warrant
Right.
article not decided on at that time will reflect a non-support vote.
Right.
I think over the years, I've really tried not to have a non-support vote. It doesn't look good, and just because we haven't met a timeline, and it may not even be our problem or our reason that we didn't meet it. It could be that we received the warrant articles later. We had contract negotiations this year. We didn't receive those until late in December, and so I don't think we even voted on them until early January. We could have snow days, you could have no quorums, you could have Troy is sick with the flu someplace and can't make the meeting. So
Life.
I would hopefully request that you consider changing that date to be a little bit more flexible, because a non-support vote on the ballot isn't good. You know, if it's a true non-support vote, that's one thing, but if it's
Right.
just because a timeline has been imposed that, for some reason we couldn't meet, I wouldn't want to have
So the
that.
budget committee typically votes to support or not support anything that expends dollars.
Right.
yes.
Right.
So what is the deadline for petition warrant articles to your point that could come in after this date? If there's a petition warrant article to spend
Well, it would be-
$50,000 on the Opera House or something.
January.
But it would be,
January should be after this date.
yeah, it'd be too late for our costs.
Can we at least make an exception for petition warrant articles? Otherwise, they would be silent on that.
Yeah, they're still obligated to make a recommendation.
But if
They
they're
have to have a
petitioned,
special
why not
meeting.
say no?
But
Because
if they
these people
don't,
have options, this is not
That's up to
necessarily.
the budget committee though, to have their decision whether they support or not support.
I mean, you think December the 15th?
December the 15th, but I also would hope that there would be an exception if there was a contract
Oh,
negotiation.
Oh, absolutely.
No, wait a minute. The reason why I want it in the policy is because board changes,
Yep.
town managers change, budget committee members
But-
change.
Oh.
And we know what we think we're suggesting here, but 10 years down the road, if we're still using this policy, the new people won't. So I want you to, if you would please consider that.
Okay,
Yeah.
noted for sure.
And then, just one other little thing, for people who are sitting here, our budget committee meetings are open to the public. We invite everyone, it is a, discussion is allowed, there's a lot of discussion. We get into the detail and we welcome everybody to come and be a part of that discussion.
And those get put on the calendar on the front page of the town
Yeah.
website.
Yeah.
They start getting more frequent during the, late fall, winter, up to, through November, December, January.
Okay.
All right,
I have one question. If warrant articles aren't required to be, especially petition warrant articles, aren't required to be finalized until a certain date in January, why are we requiring the advisory budget committee to have their decisions made by the end of November? I understand the reasoning behind that, but it's not giving them or the select board the opportunity to deal with any articles that come in for their date. What is the cutoff, the actual cutoff for all warrant articles?
January.
You wouldn't want our process for our operating budget and sponsored articles from the board. You would want to have those pretty much finalized before, it'd be nice to have them done by November 30th, but
Okay,
if we go to December the 15th. Now, we all know that after that, petition articles are gonna come in, and the boards, both boards are gonna have to meet again, review those, and make recommendations.
okay, then that's my concern about the way this is,
So maybe it
the
should
way
just
this
say,
is verbalized. It's written with such finality that it does not give the budget committee or the select board an opportunity after that date.
so instead of total warrant articles, everything besides the petition, like the
I would
rest
say
of
every
the warrant.
every
is-
warrant article that's in-house at that time.
Yes, we have a date
Yes,
for
we
that.
have a date, we can vote on it.
Yeah.
But any articles that come in after that date to the
Right.
deadline,
Right. we have
somehow
to,
it
yeah.
needs to be added in there so that we're not cut off.
We could say something after the last day, the petition warrant articles come in within 2 weeks.
Yeah.
The budget,
Well,
the
yeah.
advisory
Well-
budget.
I can, again.
2 weeks usually gives us enough time at the end for the last petition
Yeah.
warrant article.
I can rework that, Diane, work with me, and we can work on that language. We just kind of looked at we didn't change any language of the date.
It was the way it was
So it was the
written.
way it
Yeah.
was written. And my attempt was to really try to get at least the budget and town select board sponsored articles wrapped up on November 30th, so that now we can deal with positions.
Wait, I'm just remembering.
But there is.
Does
Yeah.
take longer.
And there's no reason why we can't, any warrant article that's in-house before then, there's no reason why we can't make a decision by that date, by November 30th.
We did
But-
that this year, yeah.
Yeah, but anything that comes in after, I think that needs to be
I think the
verbalized in
language
there.
can be loosened up so that
Yeah.
the goal is that, we'll attempt to try to wrap it up November 30th with
Yep.
exceptions, whatever. But I mean,
Right,
I don't even know legally, I guess, I don't even know what the recommendation would be, like a policy like this, now that I'm reading this. I don't think the select board could put down not supported by budget committee.
It's
Right.
a procedure here, it's not.
Yeah.
You couldn't do that. I mean, it's up to the
This was
budget
written
committee to
years
either
ago.
support or not support, but you couldn't
Actually, it was written 2020.
put their recommendation for them because they didn't make a decision.
right,
You couldn't do that.
right.
So I think that,
There is
that needs
flexibility
to
in it.
have some different.
It needs to be tweaked.
So-
But I'd like
Yes.
to, I appreciate all the work that you've done on this policy and bringing the select board in earlier in the process. I think that over the years, I've been on the budget committee for 12 years now, and I've seen how many town managers and boards change the process just a little bit. And the board, select board has come into the process later and later and later and later. From years ago, you know, right, Linda?
Yeah.
And so I appreciate the effort to bring them in earlier, so thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, this remedies that. May I state, why don't we table this, right? And so make those changes to that area that we were talking about and clear up some of those questions people had and not put a vote on this now? Can we do it for our next
No,
meeting?
we'll work it.
Yes,
and,
work on it and put it on the next
Put it on
one.
the agenda for the next.
Okay. All right, great. More to come on all of that. So the next one is approval of the 2027 budget guidance. So this is a guidance that was is being proposed by Troy to the select board.
Yeah, we've got our policy that we're looking to adopt, and but I thought it would be nice if we have this discussion, and if the board's willing to actually set this guidance now, so we can actually set the tone and the communication going forward. Summer comes quickly, July comes quickly, and but what I'm proposing here, last year, I set guidance of establishing that the operating budget in town tax impact warrant articles, town being select board sponsored, that my guidance was to be somewhere between 5 to 8%. And we've over the last few years, we've had a lot of various types of issues going on that's impacted our budget. I really feel that the 27 budget, we're gonna have some of those things behind us now. We've worked really hard over the last couple of years of not relying on our fund balance to reduce taxes. And when we did that, when we made that decision, you lost, in 1 year, we lost $700,000 of offsetting revenue to reduce the tax rate. Well, that now we've kind of gone through that hurdle. Last year we had a couple of warrant articles that we did use the fund balance, so there would be no new tax impact. But I think everyone felt like, okay, it's going to take a few years as we slowly move into this. And we also had the pilot agreements that, we didn't have a known certain funding agreement in place. That impacted your budget 1 year. We found this year where we didn't actually budget correctly for some things in 25, and that directly had a pretty substantial impact in our proposed budget for 26. Remember, in the fire department, we had some things that were not properly funded or budgeted for, and you had that $80,000 variance because we transitioned to a different fiscal year on our insurance policy that cost $80,000 to do that. I just feel that this year we've got, as far as the operating budget, I think we're really in a good shape to be able to put together a budget that keeps our services where we're at, follows the personnel policy and our union contracts, and that we look really hard at the warrant articles. Obviously, everyone said last year, we've got to reduce the warrant articles. And if we can work really hard on just funding the articles that we absolutely need, and we can try to get that all together, my recommendation is 3 to 5%. That's a challenge. I'm just throwing that out there, and if we can meet it, that would be great. But if we set it at 3 to 5%, when we come to present to this board and we're at 6.2%, at least we can explain to you why we missed, the ceiling, the max of 5%, we're over 1.2%. We can point out to you what drove that. And you can then decide, okay, do you want to allow the extra 1.2%, or is there things that we can go back and reduce to get us to that 5%? But I think we can do it this year.
Okay, process question now. So, so you're talking 3 to 5% per department that you're gonna try to hold everybody to?
No, it's gonna be gross. So our
Across the
proposed
entire-
operating budget and our proposed warrant articles. So the capital reserve funds that you have to raise money for or anything like that. So collectively, that whatever that cost is, it would not exceed last year's by 3 to 5%.
So I guess my question is here, this is April, right? And the departments are, and all of you are gonna work on what are really sort of departmental and other capital expenditure budgets that form the foundation of the overall budget. It might be incumbent on the select board and maybe to some extent on the budget committee to see what the funding priorities would be in a normal year. So you're able to sort of show your priorities without making that initial cut yourself. And instead having the select board be the one that sort of gets to say, all right, well, now we're seeing you guys come to us with a 6%. And we think we need to have a certain amount of funding into this department or that department, and we set the priorities and force everyone down to 4% or 3.5%. And then that's what goes on. It's a little hard for me to, and I'm not saying, I get what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
To be able to say that the 3 to 5%, halfway through April is either too big or too small. I mean, we're headed for God knows what over the next couple of months. So it's sort of reserving some of that capability, since we are giving more responsibility to the select board in the budgetary process to sort of capture that as part of the priority setting. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, basically the directive, you're setting this budget guidance that the complete package isn't anymore, somewhere between 3 and 5%.
Mm-hmm.
That's a directive to me, which then it's my job to go and try to deliver that product to you.
And I
You basically, with that guidance, you're basically telling department heads your level of funding, and maybe you might be cutting a few lines.
Yeah.
Because I know that some of the, you're going to have the increase in health insurance, we're gonna have the increase in
Fuel.
salaries. Those are going to happen. And I know that we're gonna have the increases in all of our energy costs. That's gonna happen.
Yeah.
So, that doesn't give you free rein to say, ooh, I've got 5% in my budget.
Right.
It's not gonna work, because my job is the complete package. So I'll be going back to different departments. Some departments are only gonna be up 2.5%, because there's not a lot of activity that goes on. They're pretty level funded every year, except for the, any increase
I
in
just think
salaries.
as long as those decisions and those debates internally are also communicated to us, because we're the ones that are gonna be making those decisions ultimately, right? And which choices did you make?
Right. I think it's
I trust that you'll make good choices, but I think there should be some way for us to be able to capture that.
There definitely needs to be a way, and I gotta work with Lori to make sure we have, so at the board level, when we bring this budget forward, I definitely wanna capture what the department head submitted for requests.
Oh, and then see
And
that.
what the manager's recommended budget is. You
I
guys
like
can
that,
play,
yeah.
you can play mediator, but if you feel you have to, but I wanna definitely.
You don't want 5 people making budget.
Yeah, you don't
We want
want,
There's a balance.
you don't
I
want
think we need
5
to see what the trade-offs
micromanagers
are.
dealing with
I don't think
the
you want
town
5 of
manager
us
and
all
the department
over the
heads.
shoulder.
Sorry?
No,
You don't
but
want
I'm
5
saying-
micromanagers.
Careful what you ask for.
No.
Yeah.
The department heads need to work with Troy on their budgets. They don't need us getting the fingers in the pie. I mean, yes, we can go through the budget items,
And make recommendations.
we
for
can make
sure.
recommendations and such, but it's the department heads I mean, they go above and beyond, to be very honest. This is my 4th year now. 5th year?
I don't know.
4th year, I don't know.
You should
I don't
know.
even remember. It's
5, I
beyond
think.
3 years, let's put it that way. Because I've watched them work very hard to keep their budgets as tight as they possibly can. And I've watched a couple of town managers work very hard on keeping those numbers down. And I know Troy came back last year with a big time cut in one of the one of the presentations to the advisory board. I remember, if I remember correctly, was he came back with a huge cut in that budget. So I think as a select board, understanding the process, taking our hands off the process, and letting Troy do his job, letting the department heads do their job, letting the department heads present their budgets to the budget committee, then work with them. You know,
It's his job to create the budget.
make your,
Ultimately,
right,
We have to put our names.
But we're
on it.
involved in all those meetings,
Right.
Taylor.
I
Like, we
mean-
go to all those budget meetings as
Right.
well with the department heads, and we're at the table asking the
I
same
think
questions.
my concern, I understand where you're coming from, but my concern is micromanagement piece of this whole thing.
Well, I'm certainly not interested in micromanaging.
Okay.
I think understanding the priorities of individual departments
Yeah.
informs the ultimate decision we have to make, because we're gonna be the ones that are gonna
Right.
be this, not that.
Right.
But if you know that this was, what the priority is within a budget request, it does help that decision-making. I'm
Well,
not suggesting.
and that's when you go and you spend time with Troy.
Yeah.
And you ask the questions to Troy. And you can meet with Troy and a department manager and go through those, because that's what, when I first came on the board, I went to Jim Gleason and I said, I want to meet with each one of your department heads because I want to know where they're at.
That's exactly what I'm getting at.
And I was accused of micromanaging.
That's what it is?
Yeah, well, I was accused of it. I didn't, but I was accused of it. But essentially what I did was I talked with each one of the department managers. What are your needs? How are your people doing? How are they working? How are they enjoying their job? This type of thing. To find out where they're at, because I'm a numbers and I'm an employee. Our town employees hung the moon.
Yeah.
I mean, I've always believed that. So I think spending the time with Troy, spending the time with him and a department head can give you that insight into how the department head puts his budget together to bring to Troy. And then Troy goes in and says, oh, I can cut this much. And the advisory budget committee, well, can you cut this much more?
I feel so bad when I do that. I do.
But I think the budgets are as tight as we can possibly get them at the moment in light of the way the prices are going.
Yeah, I think you're over the last couple of years, I think every department has really got a pretty, the budget that's been established is what they need to continue to do what they do.
Right.
There's no increase in anything services. What's getting us is the extra warrant articles. That's
Oh, yeah,
a
well.
lot of times.
But those
And
don't
this year's gonna
usually-
this year's gonna be a little tricky too, because we're gonna be bringing in, for the first time, we're gonna be bringing in the rec department and the transfer station.
As separate
So
warrant
they're
articles.
coming in this year as part of the operating budget.
Or the
Okay,
budget,
okay,
not-
of the
Those
okay,
revolving
that's right,
funds have
that's
gone
right.
away. and they're
That's
So we're
right.
just combining everything so no one gets to make any choices.
No, we're
No.
not. What the whole justification was is that you have
Speaking out of turn.
two
Yeah.
departments that are running under a revolving fund. And revolving funds are a tool, they've been approved by the state, but they are designed to be 100% self-supporting. But our transfer station and the recreation department cannot operate 100% on fees. It's just not possible. And that's why you have a warrant article every year for both those operations to make up the difference in taxes
Right.
of what they don't generate in fees.
Do you have, December with a question? Go ahead.
Yeah, so just about the warrant article aspect and like your unilateral decisions to what warrant articles come forward, like on town issues, for example, like the library, I'll use the library as an example. Last year, I know you didn't put the $20,000 capital improvement or capital improvement funds warrant article. You left it off last year for the library. You discussed it ahead of time. I know that this year you left it off. Last year you said, leave it off last year, we'll put it on this year. This year you left it off again without telling them and then told all of us first. So that's 2 years. You've taken away the right of the voters on whether or not they want to approve $20,000 for improvements to the library. So over 2 years now, the library is now down $40,000 that no one got a choice to vote for, number one, and it wasn't really discussed. It was kind of just like, well, this is what, because you have a number that you want to meet, and I understand the, the idea of that concept, but when you're making unilateral decisions and then we have aging infrastructure and issues, we start taking away the money year after year after year, then all of a sudden the library is going to have, they can't fix things. And I mean, the library is an important part of the town. The town owns a property. We should be spending money or saving money at least for when the furnace goes down or when the boiler, whatever happens. So that's my concern with this process is, this is great, we're getting things out earlier, and not a micromanagement aspect, but you're already making decisions behind the scenes, cutting out aspects and not letting the voters choose. So that's disappointing that that's happening. So Linda's saying, work with, department heads work with you and do all that, but you didn't work with the director of the library this year on pulling that $20,000 warrant article. You just did it, and that was that. So I see a huge issue with not having that discussion ahead of time, not having that discussion with them, and then I can't imagine why all of a sudden, if you're trying to hit the 3 to 5%, this coming year you're going to want to add on a capital improvement warrant article for the library. So again, I'm really heavily concerned that you are so hyper-focused on meeting these percentages that we're going to start running into problems over time with where money is not where it's needed. So that's just, it's very viable considering what's going on, and it's already a perfect example of it's already happened. So again, I would like to see more put it out there for people to vote for. If people don't want it, then they vote against it. That's what warrant articles are for. So for you to make the decision and say the voters don't get a choice, that seems like a bit of an overstep to me. I don't know the legalities of that, that's not what I'm discussing. I'm just saying that to me, as a resident of the town and a voter, seems like a bit of an overstep to not allow the voters the deliberative session to discuss that. So that's that.
Thanks for sharing.
Thank you.
Yep, Diane?
So, to set the expense like 3 to 5%, I think a couple years ago, we had this discussion of what does that really mean? The gross, what does that really mean? Does that mean revenues are included in that? Or is it just that the operating budget and the warrant articles will come within 3 to 5%? Or is the total at the bottom line with the revenues already factored into it, 3 to 5%? We kind of, we really didn't know. Do you remember that discussion a couple of years ago between the school and the town? And the school interpreted it one way and the town interpreted it another way. So I'm just wondering if that is part of it too, Troy's.
I remember that.
I remember it too.
I remember getting yelled at and reading about it in the newspaper and school board meeting minutes.
So
I'll never forget that, actually.
No, me neither.
And nothing's really, all right, so, no, what this is it's a guidance. You could formulate a guidance in many different ways in municipal budgeting, but this one is gross. So the gross appropriation of somewhere between 3 to 5% for the proposed operating budget and the proposed warrant articles that I will recommend to the select board.
And will you at that
So-
time have an opportunity to look at what the pickups could be, the revenues on the tax revenues from
That would be,
new properties?
so that would be your, as with any, so the reason I've picked the gross appropriation is because municipal budgeting DRA is set on gross appropriation. Everything's appropriated by gross. The outcome of those gross appropriations, less revenues, less this and less that, equals your net amount to be raised.
Right.
And that is the real number you wanna keep your eye on. But for trying to put together a budget, this is setting out saying, this is the growth, we're gonna try to hold our gross appropriation to no greater than 5%. And then as the process gets towards the end, we'll start calculating what the estimated tax impact is.
So in the policy, it always says that, it recommends that the budget committee, the advisory committee, approve of a department's budget or not. And we always hesitate to approve anything up until the final, until we actually know what that
That number
net is. And because it could, you know, it could just be way off the charts. Something could happen with revenues, you know, who knows? So the sooner you know that and share that with the advisory committee, that would be better for us, because
Yeah.
I think it would be smooth sailing after that.
Okay.
Okay,
So this is just guidance, includes capital reserves, as a baseline, right, Corey? That does not include unassigned funds. Was that counted as gross appropriation?
No, that's.
It doesn't
that'd be
include
an
petition.
offsetting-
Doesn't include petition articles.
Right.
Discussion amongst the
Think
board.
we beat it up pretty far?
Yeah. So, you wanna get this done tonight to start the guidance policy, huh?
If you wanna think about it and put these two items back on the agenda for your next meeting, I'm not bothered, but if you're comfortable with us trying to go off and start thinking,
I think it's just
the
gross,
more
it's
I
just
can.
gross guidance at this point.
I'm comfortable with this one. I'm glad we're gonna go back and make those changes with the policy, but I'm comfortable with a 3 to 5% guidance. But if other people aren't feeling ready for that, we can hold off, but any comments or? I think it's a fair guidance in a time where we have so many question marks about, like you said, with utilities, fuel, healthcare went up so much this year for our
Yeah.
budget. So I think 3 to 5 is a good goal, personally, I think that, but I don't know what the rest of you are thinking.
I'm okay with that.
What?
I'm okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're already nudging against 3% inflation for the year.
I know,
Well, it's
so,
basically level fund.
Right, we know fuel costs are gonna be well higher than 5%.
I mean, obviously I'd like to see it closer to the 3, but I mean, reality, I'm also realistic. That my budget at home is not coming in, you know,
He may
we're,
come back saying, I cannot hit this.
right, and that's the thing, this is
Right,
just
but we have to give him
guidance.
some kind of target or
Yes.
bogey to start from, rather than just, Troy, work your magic, that's
Yes.
not
Yeah.
fair. you know.
Right.
I think a 3 to 5 is better. Last year, we went for a 5 to 8, so this is actually bringing it down quite a bit and asking a bunch more of Troy and the department heads, but I think it's a good goal. Any more discussion on it? Anybody want to make the motion and read the recommended motion? Ed, you want to make the motion, read it? You like reading out loud? You got your glasses?
I
Go
need my
ahead.
glasses. All right, I'll make a motion. I move that the select board pursuant to the town of Littleton budget procedures policy hereby establish budget development guidance for the upcoming 2027 budget such that the combined gross appropriation of the proposed operating budget and all select board special warrant articles shall not exceed an increase of 3 to 5% over the prior year's combined gross appropriations. This excludes any and all petitioned warrant articles.
Okay, second, anyone?
I'll second that.
Linda seconds. Any more discussion? All right, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
I'll oppose it.
Opposed, abstain? Okay, 4-1-0. All right. Next is town manager report. We've got February revenue and then February expense. We got a revenue report first.
All right, well, we're just starting the year really with our revenues. Right now, we have about 92% left to collect. We should be somewhere around 83%. But our pilot, some of those big revenue sources, the rooms and meals tax, highway block grant money, all of that comes in December. And the pilot payments, there's a big chunk there, obviously in July and December. So, but the revenues are, all the other areas are coming in as anticipated. And again, just in case you don't know, revenues are always kind of a moving target. We put together an estimate for the proposed budget. As we go and set the tax rate in the fall, we have an opportunity to sit and look at the revenues and really fine tune them and adjust them up or down depending on where they're coming in. So usually revenues, because we get that second chance at it, we normally will hit our revenue estimates. Unless something changes at the state level with some of those programs I talked about. And then I think it's fixed in here. It's actually it's the March. We listed it wrong on the agenda, but it's the March expense report. We are again looking really good financially. How we're holding it together from all the snow. It's been a long winter, and with the rising costs of fuel and energy, we'll have to keep an eye on it. But as of right now, the town's in good financial position with about 75% or $9.2 million of the approved $12 million budget still available. So this places us approximately $64,000 or about 0.5% under budget year to date. So a little tighter than we've seen in the past. Usually there's a bigger gap there, and we'll be watching that. But again, keep in mind, most of your winter operations, 3/4 of that cost is incurred in the start of the fiscal year, the calendar year. So we find ourselves going back, if you're lucky, no plows hit the pavement until sometime around Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
So we only got about a month and a half of overtime and plowing that occurs then. And January, February, March are heavy months in our general assistance, and that goes. We pay a lot of our software licenses and some of the other contracts that we pay up front. So even though it's a very tight percent there, we have a lot of upfront costs at the start of the year.
Okay.
Well, that's that. Then just a couple. I don't have a written policy statement for you today, but just a couple of notes. Chief Miller informed me that the ladder truck was put back in service last Thursday.
Oh,
We still don't know what the cost will be. There still seems to be a minor repair that they've identified, and the company will be coming up to address that. Probably we're aware, if you didn't see it, the town has put an RFQ out to get interest from potential engineering firms to begin the work on Main Street Phase 2. So this process right now is just getting interested engineering companies, and we'll review their qualifications and make a selection as to what company we think would best meet the town's needs. The discussion about, just to keep you up to date on that Congregational Church crosswalk, Eric and I had another meeting, a virtual meeting Friday with North Country Council, and we talked about using their in-house engineering services, that they have a certain amount allocated for small projects, and that application was submitted. So that was pending their review. I don't see there being a reason why we won't be awarded that. And that will get their in-house engineer to begin working on some at the situation and seeing what can be done to really address the safety concerns there. And like I said, that process will probably take about a year.
Yeah.
Before we know what the actual plan is and what DOT will approve and sign off on. But we also had conversation, they're going to be putting together a scope of work for doing an assessment inventory of our sidewalk system and also doing a roadway management assessment. So there's two different things, but we'll keep you posted on that scope of work and what the cost will be. Again, the idea of having a plan that the Public Works Department can use, the CIP committee can use, to really start planning on where we're gonna spend our money and on what priority over the next 5-10 years with pedestrian infrastructure and roadway infrastructure. Everyone probably saw the news, our community development block grant application on behalf of the community house was awarded $500,000. It's a lot of money. So it definitely puts them in a really good place, leveraging all of the grants that they had lined up for matching sources. The auditors started work this week, so they come, they spend about 3-4 days in the town office. They do what they collect and review what they need to physically in the building, and then they go off over the next 3 months, and most of the work that they do is remote, doing analysis of the information they collected. So I think our audit usually is done sometime in September, should be completed. And just to let you know, this Thursday I will be attending a training session at Primex.
Okay. That all your
That's it.
comments? All right, now we'll move on to select board reports. Anyone have anything they want to start with?
I do not.
The only thing I was going to say is we're talking about the budget, all the talk about budget tonight.
It's a mini deliberative session here.
It was. On 4/23, which is next week, we have the quarterly budget meeting in this room, and that's when the select board, budget committee, school board get together. It's also public. It's also notes. And is it recorded?
Yes.
It's also recorded by Zach, and notes will be up on the Granite North TV. But it's open to the public 5 to 7, and we do these quarterly, and we do even more budget talk. So if you like to come to those, and we can keep people interested with the dates. So if you want to come to these budget hearings. One other thing, and then the Littleton Winter Shelter, we got invited to. They have their second season. They're having an annual meeting 4/22 at 5:30 at the Ahead conference room in the old hospital, and everyone's invited. And you all, I think, got postcards about it. Yeah. Yeah.
Just on the quarterly meetings.
Yes.
This is the time I had planned to come and say, what would you like on the agenda? I think we talked about, the policy, the draft policy for the budget. And Troy could update us on that. But Troy, if you have things that you want to place on the agenda, please let me know, or any of the select board members. I'm also thinking about the year end, where we'll be at the year end. I'll probably ask the school where they are in the process, because their fiscal year is coming to an end, but they're not there yet. Just things like that. So also, one of the other things I've noticed in listening to some of the school board meetings, that they have increased the buyout for insurance. And so I probably would ask both boards to share that information with each other, because we don't need to be competing with each other on that. So that might be part of the discussion as well. So, but please let me know if you have any items that you want to place on the agenda.
Okay. Any other select board comments?
Just one quick thing.
Yes.
Just as a note, so I talked with some of the people that maintain some of the private hiking trails and mountain bike trails in Littleton up on Parker Mountain. And there've been some evidence of some throttle electric bikes on those trails. And I know some of those trails also border town trails. So I don't know whether that's a thing or not, but there are different classes of these bikes, and most of the trails that are out in the woods that people enjoy are not made for something with a lot of torque.
Especially this time of year, doesn't it really dig up the
They're all non-motorized, so even an electric bike would not be allowed.
So most trails like
That's
an
motorized.
ATV
It
is
is,
not,
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
but they are motorized motorcycle, and they have a throttle, and so there's a class of
Wheel
bike where
spin,
it's a pedal assist bike, so you can ride it and you have to put in some effort and it assists you. Those are quite popular among a lot of people and they're allowed, but anything with a throttle.
Oh, I see.
So I'm just saying that in conservation land and some other places in town, it might just be worth, I think the group's gonna put up some signs to sort of designate the different classes. Starts to sound bureaucratic, unfortunately, but that's, you don't wanna tear up the trails. So I just
Yeah.
thought I'd mention that.
Yeah, they've actually been in my neighborhood. They look like little miniature dirt bikes.
Yeah.
And the only reason, and they were actually very loud.
Yeah.
I didn't think they
Is
were.
it combustion or electric?
They're electric.
But they
they've
build
got-
in, it's like, you know,
I've
when you
seen
drive
it.
slow in an e-car and it goes,
Yeah.
I think they build
Yeah.
that into them.
Yeah, and they've got a fat tire on them, so almost you think it's a dirt bike
Okay.
coming
they're
at you, but
electric,
it's just
I've never
electric.
seen one. You see.
Oh, they're
You've
very
seen 'em.
talented. The three of them drove by my house on the rear wheel.
Whoa.
Oh, yeah. And then they headed for the townland. So that, I know they went up
Tear
there.
up some mud, huh?
All right, well, thank you.
Sure.
All right, and I think if that's it, we'll move to public comment and, yep, 3 minutes each. And yes, go ahead, Karen.
First, I'd like to say thank you. I'm very excited to hear that the board has had some discussion on the sidewalk. It sounds like that's moving forward. I just had a question on Mike O'Donnell, I think was a name that you had given, that he was involved with the sidewalk, or the crosswalk maybe, but not the sidewalk. Is he the person who's gonna still sort of facilitate this, or what's the process now?
He works.
Are we talking specifically the crosswalk at the Congregational Church?
Yes.
So the way that will work, obviously, we're gonna paint the crosswalk lines this year, right? And we might try to use a different product other than paint. We'll see how that goes. I don't know if that'll happen or not. But at the very least, the crosswalk will be marked along with the other crosswalks on Main Street. The engineering that I talked about that we're trying to leverage, then that process will kick off, and like I said, I'm just guessing that it could take a year from start to finish, or hopefully less. And the role that Mr. O'Donnell will play as a DOT official will be providing guidance to the engineer. And the engineer will come up with its, first rendering of its plans and provide it for DOT for review and comment. But ultimately, at the end of the day, the final plans have to be signed off by DOT. But DOT is not going to do that. We have to do it and provide it to them. DOT is not, to my knowledge, will not be spending $1 on our proposed improvements. I think that will be 100% town.
So when you say a year, are you talking about it's gonna take the engineering firm a year to come up with a plan? Are you saying that with the engineering, because that was my understanding, engineer had to get really involved to say
So-
what we could do?
So my guess is that once we get the engineer on board, and hopefully that process goes pretty quickly. So just say they're able to get working in May. It's pretty, as far as collecting data and everything, it's a pretty straightforward project. The problem with this is that there will be different approaches. And whether we end up having a bump out, we eliminating some spaces, we actually move the crosswalk location 10 feet one way or 10 feet the other way. And a bigger concern, which could cause delay in this project, is right-of-way acquisition, if that's required. So it's very tight up there from what I've been told, but that the engineers will, they'll figure out where the property lines are. And I think one way to get away from acquiring right-of-way is to bump everything out into the road. And but all that will be looked at, and so it would be, my guess, just by experience working with these things, is simple and straightforward as it seems. If everything goes perfectly, then we'll have the project fully designed, approved by DOT, and we could put it out to bid for next spring work.
Okay. As a citizen and a taxpayer, is there something that I or other people can do to help facilitate any of this with any conversations with people?
I don't know, you could fundraise. You could volunteer in the morning to maybe, I shouldn't say that.
No, Chief said you are not gonna be in
I won't go there. But I've seen some
the schools, they do
businesses
it,
ask
yeah.
work, I don't know, I forget that.
Chief's gonna get
No, so fundraising would be good. If we run into some kind of problems, which I don't expect that we will, that for some reason we had to get political, obviously that would be very helpful. But I don't believe that's the case.
Thank you.
I appreciate your efforts, thank you.
Yep. I think December was first, and Lilo, then you. Go ahead, December.
Yeah, this is about the Opera House, and I know it was just first mentioned, kind of a preliminary discussion, the last select board meeting about the first floor and I guess renovation, or the discussion's pretty much, it's kind of been happening behind the scenes, but I'm kind of wondering how, like, what kind of public input will that process be for what will happen with that first floor? Will there be, how will we become involved in this process?
Good question. Right now, it's still being used by the renter, correct?
The first floor right now is unfinished.
Theater upstairs.
Yeah, you had mentioned the last select board meeting about, you said something about a pickleball court or a restaurant or something going in.
Oh, like,
a Bertha going in there or something.
Yeah.
'Cause that's
So
what I was referencing.
so there's some discussion about, I brought it up because there's some discussion about maybe putting overhead doors back. I understand the original fire department had their engines coming in and out of that place, and putting Bertha in there, so that she is, in a secured area, heated, protected, and people could visually see, Bertha through the door. So that's just a discussion that's occurring, and my concern was the fact that this space is unfinished. It's really just used for storage at this time, and there are no plans for anything.
Well, I guess, so my question is like there's some definite revenue generating opportunities at the Opera House that are not being utilized currently because like renovating certain spaces hasn't happened. Like there's a space upstairs that kind of lays, unused and unupdated. Again, it would cost money to make those updates, but it would be a revenue generator for the town. So I think this is something we need to seriously look at, and not to go over Riley's head or anything like that, as she's the director. But I think it's something the town needs to look at for not how do we use that space to make money, because we can't make taxes on the property because the town owns it. It's an amazing asset for the town to have, because, it's just for a plethora of reasons. So I'd like to, somehow join the conversation, because I'd like to see something go in there that will benefit the town. Like, I had an idea, and I've been talking to a few different people who I won't mention, but maybe like a small children's museum, or something that could operate, that would benefit the overall community, and the kids, and we could actually bring money into the Opera House that wouldn't require a lot of heavy taxpayer impact to that. So I know you kind of mentioned it briefly, but if we're going to talk about bringing revenue in this town, we've got to stop talking about using spaces that are available for revenue like that and say, well, let's park something in here that's, to keep it warm and everything, and bring it out for a parade. So that's my suggestion, is we need to seriously start the discussion for updating the Opera House and increasing the revenue streams that are possible. We have money left on the table there as a town, and I'd like to see that addressed. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so I remember it was Lilo, then you, and then Rudy. Okay, go ahead.
I just would like to suggest that the board consider taking the draft warrant articles and having them reviewed for clarity, English, grammar, and then we should also get a legal review before they are accepted as part of the warrant. To me, even though I'm just a voter around here, it was pretty embarrassing to have one that was self-contradictory, and then pretty embarrassing to have some that were just wrong and had to be rewritten. So it would be very useful if someone did a review so that at least people who do read it would understand what we're doing. I still don't understand this whole thing about four buildings on one lot or 2 buildings on one lot, and the zoning, right now, it could be both. And I don't quite understand how we can be both, but that's now part of the zoning laws, and it doesn't make any sense to have something that we put out like that. So if there could be part of the process, find someone who understands English well enough to catch those things. And then we need legal to review them too, so that we don't put in. I know the legislature did a law that wasn't legal recently, inspection, but there's no reason for us to do it in this community again.
I mean, just for everyone's awareness, the warrant articles are reviewed by legal counsel. The budgetary articles, not the zoning ones, are reviewed by legal counsel and DRA.
I understand.
No, I know, I just wanted.
We just,
Yeah,
that
they were.
voting article was
Yeah.
a disaster, and
It
then
was.
it was approved.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So we now have a farcical law,
yeah.
and it just, someone needs to review what they
Yeah.
write. And it could be
Errors
them,
happen.
but if they reviewed this, they didn't make any sense.
Yeah.
I mean, I spent 10 minutes arguing with them about
I remember.
their language, and that was ridiculous. And it's not you, it's this,
No.
that's why maybe that could be added to a process. It just, we need to have somebody who reviews all of them before they're actually put in.
So the process happened, but it still didn't work out correctly. All right, I think you were next, and then Rudy. And I forgot your name, and you told me already.
Okay. Karen, I'm Tim Howard.
Tim? Okay.
Yeah, I actually administer the operation of the Littleton Farmers Market. And we had about 47 vendors getting ready for the market to open on June 7th, and potentially 20 to 25,000 visitors throughout the season
Wow.
come through the market. Then we've done hard counts, that's the numbers we come up with. We're getting a little nervous, again, as we have done for the last few years, about where we're going to be because of the development down by the waterfront. And we'd like to get some serious clarity about what's happening down there and when and if and where we're going to have to go this year. So maybe somebody can give us some answers. Troy, any idea?
I think, I understand that you've been working with
Riley.
Riley.
Riley, yes, and she's
And
very, very
Riley's,
helpful and good.
Riley is in the same predicament that I would be in, is that
Yeah.
we don't know as of right now when or if construction will start this year.
Mhm.
So, the farmer's market, I think we could, I don't know if Riley's communicated this to you or not, I mean, you could proceed, you know, to use it with the understanding that with a week's notice, you would have to cancel the rest of the season or try to
Or move
find
it.
another location, which I think, to be honest with you, I mean, I don't know if there's another location that you've been talking to about Riley.
Not
Yes.
Remick.
The only place I know about is Remick Park.
Yeah, we're talking about Remick. In fact,
That's the backup.
I'm duplicating the applications
Good.
for the
Yeah.
work, but for both places, just in case.
Yeah.
Obviously, if we were to start the season June 7th, it would be better to have a couple of weeks' notice once you guys know if the bulldozers are coming,
It-
so that we
So
can.
I can pretty much guarantee you that if you could mobilize and move to a different location with 2 weeks' notice, I know that we're gonna know with 2 weeks.
Yeah,
Things don't start up that quickly. Contracts have to be awarded, signed.
yeah,
And we're not there
So,
yet.
yeah.
you know, but if you're comfortable being able to say, hey, let's go ahead and do it, and knowing that it's week by week, you know, with something like a 2 weeks courtesy notice.
Certainly would need at least a couple of weeks because we would have to do advertising
Yeah.
for everything, new signage, let all the vendors know, let a good 15 to 20 not-for-profits know, let the Vouchers for Veterans, which is a statewide organization, know, and they have their own advertising business to deal with as well. So we'd have to give them plenty of notice. although they don't come until September, so we have a little bit of
Yeah,
wiggle time there.
maybe it's email and
But I think that's the
social
best
media.
way we can proceed.
Yeah.
Okay, well, so long as they can definitely get that information with plenty of time, then fine. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, I think it was Rudy and then you, so I'm just kind of going in order the people had their hands up. Rudy,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
First of all, I want to congratulate the town about the building of the casino. I'm really excited about the town of Littleton, with all the controversy, we're gonna have a casino. And that's a plus for the town. That's my opinion, and the people in Littleton that I talk to. I don't have a lot of follow. I have about 150 people that they follow me in this town. And they are happy when I go over there and tell them what's going on. And, you know, this is a plus. Yeah, thank you very much to you guys.
The voters, well, actually, the voter not.
Second one, I personally, I want to congratulate with the town manager. I see so much change in him. He's been over here for 2.5 years, something like that, right?
2 years in August.
2 years
In
in
August, not even two,
Okay,
yeah.
and
It's a toddler now.
I appreciate what he explained tonight about the relationship that he's gonna have with the budget committee. The only thing that probably we're not gonna agree a little bit is the distance. You take it too long to let the budget committee come into your office, present everything, and then you talk about something like that. This should be closer,
It's such a.
much
process.
closer,
A lot of moving
and
parts.
you can do something about it. You know, I quote unquote respect the budget committee, not much, but I do, you know. To me, a budget committee is supposed to be elected by the people, not by the town. That's my opinion, and that's the opinion of a lot of people in town. Okay, but you know, you do what you do. I mean, to me, you've been doing a good job right now. So now,
Keep it up, Troy, keep it up.
I hope you keep it going like this, and you know, we're gonna be okay.
Great, well, thank you, that was very positive.
Wait till I present the 9.5%
You want to save those.
Right, wait till I get into the 5. And sir, I'm not sure your name, you state your name too when you?
I'm Joe Mitchell. I'm also with Littleton Farmers Market.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to echo what Tim said, but I think he's being a little overly generous because I think it's a huge concern for our farmers market
Yeah.
being uprooted and having to deal with this. We're trying to be so proactive over the last few years on if we're going to be uprooted or not, and we're not getting clear answers. So we've been concerned about this for years now. If we do get uprooted, it's really going to affect our business really negatively, so we need to plan ahead for that. But my biggest concerns comes with the plan of the park and losing so much parking space down at the farmers market area. And I'm just asking, what is the long-term plan for parking here in Littleton? Has that been addressed? And if I see some confusion, if there needs to be more of an explanation on that, I can explain, because the park flipping like that's gonna lose how many parking spots?
Roughly 30.
Roughly 30 parking spots. We jam-pack that parking lot full every Sunday, but that parking lot's used throughout the week for employees, for people spending their time in Littleton and everything. It's really gonna negatively affect everything around here in Littleton, but us losing that spot or us being yanked around like this is really gonna affect our whole entire market, and this has been a huge driving force to what Littleton has become as it is right now, having this amazing farmers market. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate your comments. The plans are finalized now, and anytime we'll be going out to bid. The park is going to be designated as an area for parking and events. So You may have to change the way the farmer's market, sets up, how it operates, to be able to work within this new layout. And, when we do construction, whether it starts this year, I think you've known that the construction was gonna be last summer, we didn't know, so we've really been going, you're going to lose that space, most likely for a year. That shouldn't be a surprise, I think that's been communicated to you, so I'm not, and also, not to be negative or anything, but that's town property, and obviously we wanna work with you folks and everything, but there's no ownership there of the farmer's market. It's town property, and it's there for events with the farmer's market, town-sponsored concerts. So there's gonna be a new facility down there. It's already designed, and you're gonna have to, if you're gonna continue to be there, you're gonna have to learn to set up and operate with what's constructed.
Yeah, that's not the problem at all. In fact, once the plan is done and put in place, in fact, it's beneficial to us because we'll have a larger area to set up in on the new lawn area.
It can encourage some bike riding with the trails and maybe some
Yeah,
people, a lot of people downtown bring their car, maybe they can walk
Yeah,
or
that's
people
not,
make do.
That's not a problem at all.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just the actual fact, are we going to move and when?
Right, and we don't have that answer, and I
Yeah.
wish we did, we just don't. I
Yeah.
know it's taking some patience on your side, but us too, we don't get to decide when someone's gonna bid on it and start, because it's out of our hands too of the
We're
date.
fully flexible.
Yeah.
I should say that, but just,
Great,
we need to
I think
know.
It's gonna be, yeah.
This could play out
it's gonna need
several different
flexibility.
ways. So I'm a realist, and I know that we are really late in the game right now, where this project's not even put up to bid. Contractors are already lined up, I'm hearing, for the most part. So if we're lucky, and they literally, we're able to get a contractor and have them start to do work, sometime in September, October, they won't be able to complete the project, so they'll be back there about this time next year completing the project, which still might have an impact on your operation.
No, that would
May not be
actually-
done.
It would actually be ideal if it was
Yeah.
fall and then spring for us, because we're predominantly a summer market.
Yeah, so
So
once
that'd be
we
ideal.
have clarity on a contractor pick, when the estimated startup is, that's when we, what I'm hearing is, we can sit down and start communicating with you. So
Yeah.
you can
Yeah.
maybe delay the start of
Troy,
the
when
next
are the-
season
when are the-
until, a little bit later in June, I don't know.
When are the bids due?
It's not out yet.
So it's gotta go out to bid, and you have to get bids.
Yeah,
As part of that, do we ask them to propose a schedule? So it's
That'll
not
be
just.
part of the review process,
So, yeah, we just asked that the farmer's market be considered as an important factor of this town, and that's being processed in
Yeah.
with that timeline. Definitely do consider in the planning as you move forward, the loss of 30 parking spots. It is a big deal moving forward.
Is it the parking spots or is it the vendor spots?
Now,
No.
30 parking spots
30 parking
will
spots.
be lost roughly
Where did you
in that
Beg your pardon?
Where'd you get that information?
I actually counted it a couple of years ago. We had 90 cars parked in that whole area, and onto the grass as well,
Yeah,
yeah.
but that's the problem, is that there are not, the actual designated parking spaces that they're creating, they're non-existent in your current location. You have no real designated parking spaces. So there's gonna be a little bit more order to where the new farmer's market is. And like the chairperson said, there's gonna have to be some changes. People should commute, or if they can walk there and stuff like that. It's a great farmer's market, but, and so everybody doesn't know, Troy isn't taking this on the chin as much. The deadlines that he's trying to achieve and to get this going this year, the situation the town is in, we're being held up, the town is being held up by other entities. And so it isn't it's kind of out of our control at this point, correct, Troy? I mean, we're being held up by others.
There's many factors that's occurred over a couple of years. But
No, we're aware of that fact, quite truthfully. We know there's other things going on,
Yeah.
but Yeah, we just have to try and work together on this.
Yeah. Understood.
All right, great. All right, December, and then we'll be done. Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah, I just have a question about the sidewalk on parking lot B, the sidewalk that runs from the Littleton school to, behind Thayer's there all the way down to basically the bridge access, the volunteer bridge. So I know part of that's crumbling in, and that's part of the shoring up of the bank.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm imagining there's gonna be that part of that sidewalk will be, upgraded at some point. My concern is at this point, the way that has been designed is that because there are no barriers, and I don't know the correct name, but when those parking spaces, there's no barrier stopping any vehicle with clearance above that sidewalk, which really isn't much, from pulling over that sidewalk and blocking that sidewalk. So I'm mentioning this now ahead of the summer,
right.
but it happens all year long.
Yeah.
Any vehicle,
Yeah.
and people, it happens with any any truck that backs up
Yeah.
your space is blocking 100% of that sidewalk. And if they
Yes.
have a bike
Yeah.
rack on in the back, forget it. So like,
Yeah.
there is no passage. So anyone with a stroller, anyone in a wheelchair, there's not an option. If you're already on the sidewalk, how are you gonna turn around and go back? That's a problem. So it's gonna be an expense to add barriers in there, because I know you're trying to optimize parking and then allow for driving behind the spots in that space, but it's not, right now there's, again, there's an ADA compliance issue, but there's no way that is ADA compliant the way it stands, and especially in the summer, even all night long, because Thayer's people park there staying at Thayer's, so even all night long there, it's blocked. So it's not just during the day, at certain times, it's all the time. So this needs to be a serious look at, it's gonna cost money, but at actually creating, a usable sidewalk. Because if you're gonna spend money on having a sidewalk that's not usable, that doesn't make any sense at all. You might as well not put a sidewalk in.
You have to wait till the erosion work's done.
Yeah, so just, I'd like to see that considered, because I know I'm not the only one that's noticed it, but it's always an issue. So I'd like to see that being addressed at some point.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Yep. All right, I think we are good. Anyone want to make a motion to
I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
adjourn? Second, anyone?
I'll second it.
Linda seconds. All those in favor of adjourning? Aye. 7 o'clock, exactly 2 hours.
Rudy said aye.
Rudy said aye.